Hello and welcome back to this course and to this bonus video, which is about the UI mode. So I actually recorded the course a couple of months ago, but Playwright, they have just released a wonderful new feature called the UI mode, and I just wanna tell you all about it because I think it really changes a lot. I think it will make it even easier for you to debug tests, to understand what is going wrong, to write tests. I think it's a wonderful feature, and also it is something which the competition already had for a while. So Cypress, they had this. You will see in a second what I actually mean. So this is all about now how we're gonna set this up. Okay, so first thing, how do we set this up? First things first, if you remember, whenever we do something in this course, we had to run the website, yeah? So I'm not sure if you remember, there was this website, shopping store Mac. For example, here it was for Mac, but in your case, maybe you had a Windows file and you had to execute that. You had to either double click it, execute it. So please, maybe this course has been a while now back for you. Please do this again so that you can see the page. So you should be able to see the page. Yeah. Okay, so let's get started. So how do we now make use of this UI mode? So first things first. So the UI mode is on a new version. It's on the version 32. So Playwright comes in different versions, and if you were following along as I was doing things, then you were actually using a lower version. This is because I recorded this course, yeah, as I said, a couple of months ago. So back then, there were just the version history wasn't as far as it is now. So, but now 132 came out, which has this UI capability feature. So this is why probably we will have to upgrade our Playwright. So how can we do that first? Maybe that's actually a good exercise because you would have to do this anyway. So let's go back to our project. You know, we had here the structure in the Explorer, and there's a file called package.json. And package.json, this file, actually lists all the dependencies for our project. So here you see there is a key dev dependencies and dependencies. It isn't necessarily important where the difference is here, but what we care about is Playwright test, yeah? So this is our Playwright capability. And this is currently set to the version 1.29.1. So if you always followed along with me exactly like I did, then you probably also are at 1.29.1. If you are already at 1.32 or even higher, don't worry, or you can just go ahead. Great, perfect. But for the rest of you, so how do we now upgrade this? This is quite easy. So we in this package.json, so this lists all the versions. So this dependency will have this version. So that means I can just upgrade it to 32. And actually the version we want is 32.1. So they already released like a patch upgrade or a patch version to this version. So the third numbers basically means it's a patch. So there was maybe they added something small and made a bug fix or something. So, but yeah, we want 1.32.1. And ideally also with this circumflex here as we see it here, but if you don't have it, don't worry, not the end of the world. Okay, so but now that this version is here in this package.json, it doesn't mean you have it yet. So if you remember, all of the dependencies, they go into this folder node modules, yeah? This is what I'm going to do now is I'm just gonna delete this folder. So here in the Explorer, I can right click on it and I can hit delete. So this will ask me, yeah, do you want to move this to the trash? Definitely, because yeah, I want to get rid of it. And instead, I want to now reinstall the entire project with this new version. So what I'm going to do, I go to my terminal, and in here I will type npm install. And what this will do is it will read the package.json, and it will also there recognize, for example, Playwright test now is version 1.32, and it will install that. So let's do that. Okay, there it is. Perfect, it installed. In my case, it installed quite fast because I've done this already in preparation of the lesson. If it is for you a bit slow, don't worry. I mean, you get there anyway. Okay, perfect. So that now we have it upgraded. Just a quick thing, if the tests didn't pass for you yet, so maybe you were running npm test with this upgraded version and this didn't pass, chances are quite likely that you need to reinstall Playwright, or you need to reinstall the browsers that come with it. I probably don't have to do this in this section now because I actually already prepared this lesson today, so that's why I already have these browsers installed. But it is quite likely that Playwright failed for you with this message. It said something, oh, you need to write npx playwright install. So if it fails with that message, fair enough. Yeah, you just have to run this and then you can run npm test. But it really depends. Maybe it's not necessary for you. That's why, yeah, I put it basically now after the fact. I say if it fails with this message, if you need npx playwright install, then please do this if it tells you to do so. Great, now that we have reinstalled all the node modules, I think what we should do is we should test ourselves. So we should check, do our tests still work with this new version we just installed? So I just quickly want to give you again an overview of the project, how it was, because this course might be it might be a few months ago for you. So quickly let me show you where we were. So we, in our project, we had a folder tests, and there we had all the tests, yeah? And some of these were skipped. So here there were, in the example file, I had 2 skip tests. Then we had written in my account test, which was actually using network requests. We had done a full user journey. We took ages for that, but it was awesome. And we had, in the beginning, we had another test, which we had also skipped. So this was basically sort of our first few steps with the full journey, but then because we were not yet using the page object model, so we skipped this as well. Okay, so we have 3 tests that are skipped and 2 tests that actually run. So if we now run all our tests, they should work again, yeah? So we do npm test, if you remember this. This is how we run all of our tests, and this should run them all and they should all pass. So let's do that again. And it seems like it is working. I just want to see the final output. Yes, they are. And it is, as I said, so there are 6 skipped and 4 passed. So this is because actually we run all of our tests in 2 viewports. So we run them in mobile viewport and then desktop viewport. This is going to be important quickly later on when I show you all of the project. So all of the things in the UI mode. So how we did this was in Playwright config. There was a key under projects where we set a desktop viewport and mobile viewport. And I called the desktop viewport Chromium and the mobile viewport Mobile Chrome. But I had them all there, so this means that every test runs against these 2 devices. Yeah. Okay, next steps. So how do we now start this UI mode? So in order to do that, we need to provide Playwright again with another flag. If you remember, we had this flag -- headed. So all of these options, they are also called flags or options, and they need to be passed to the Playwright test command. And we had it set up so that we had it on an npm script. So we were able to do npm test, and this would have executed this command. And this is exactly the same principle we want to do now. So we want now to start setting up a new script. So which is why we can just enter a new entry here into this object. Don't forget there needs to be a comma because on this object there will be a new property. And now we need to give this script a name. So I will call this script UI. But you could call this in any way you like. You could call UI mode or see into it, because this is actually what's going to do this. But I will call it UI. For me, this is quite clear. And then by the colon, so I need to provide a colon, then followed by this, I will need to provide the script, or the command to execute. And this is, again, Playwright test with a new flag, --UI. And now that I have this, this new script, I can actually use it. So let's go back to the terminal and I'll show you how to use this. So we added a new npm script, and all npm scripts we can invoke with npm space run and then the name of the script. So here there could be test or UI, because these are the two scripts I currently have in my package.json. If you remember, we actually always did npm space test. This is because the scripts test and start, they are treated a bit differently, they are a bit special in package.json, but all other scripts that are not start or test, they have to actually be followed by run. So we need npm space run space and then the name of the script. So if we now do that, npm run UI, this should actually now trigger our UI mode. So let's do that. And there you have it. This is the UI mode, and we're gonna talk about it next. Here we are now in the UI mode. So I quickly want to show you what this is all about. First off, I'm gonna talk about this section here. So what we see here, these are all the tests in our project. And if I click the green button here, I can run all of the tests. So let's actually do that. So I could run just one test individually. So if I go, for example, here on this, into this test, my account, I could just click this button, run all, and then it would run it, yeah? And it ran it in 2 viewports. Why did it do that? Because on top here, so there's this section. If you expand it, I have selected these 2 viewports. So if you remember in the package, in the Playwright configuration, I called the desktop viewport Chromium. This is because Playwright it already did this by default, but yeah, so this is desktop, yeah. And I had the mobile viewport. The other way around, if I would now just tick, for example, mobile viewport, and I would click on that test, so on another test, let's say here I click to run. Now it would only actually run this in the mobile viewport. It would not have run this now in the desktop viewport. We should see this like in a couple of seconds. Yeah, here you see, so it has run this in the mobile viewport. Because when I click on it and I hover over this line here, we talk about this in a second, but then you see it's the mobile viewport. So I can filter here with these options now through desktop viewport and mobile viewports. So now I have all of these enabled, and as you see here, Chromium, so on this one of these tests where I had the flag disabled, it means it's grayed out, it means I haven't run it in that viewport. But here I have run it I have run this in the mobile viewport, and the other test I have run in all my viewports. Okay, so basically with these flags I can toggle on or off which viewports I want to run. And I can also use now these sections here to filter now, like for example by failed tests, we don't have any failed tests. By skipped tests, we don't have any skipped tests, or by passed tests. So why don't we have skipped tests? Because what I was doing is right now I was just clicking these tests individually, and they were actually they were not skipped. So if I would want to see skip tests as well, I could run all of my tests here in both viewports. So I go on the this button on top. So this button here in this section is to run all of the tests. So all of the tests we see here, we could run with this button. And as you see, this already went to skipped. This also went to skipped. This is why it has this stop sign. And this is now running in two viewports, and this is running in 2 viewports. Great. And so now I can filter by skipped or by passed and skipped, and so on. And I can even type, so I could filter for the example test, for example, or yeah, the homepage test. So this is already pretty great. Okay, so let's look further into what we actually can do, or what this does for us, because this is where things really turn magical. So let's look at our test, at the long test we had written. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold these all up so that we see it better. And we had written this full journey test, yeah? And we were now just running this in the desktop viewport and the mobile viewport. So let's actually for now select the, yeah, why not the desktop viewport? I actually think this is quite good. Okay, let's look at the desktop viewport. That's why I clicked on Chromium. I'm quite far zoomed in here, but what you see in this panel here, actions. So you see all of the actions our test did. So let's step through this actually. So if I hover over something, for example, I hover here over go to, then you see on the right side, you see actually the image. So you see how the website looked at this point in time. So for example, we were, actually let me scroll down a bit, where we were doing something with a button, yeah? So you see here now I'm hovering through these. So first I was clicking on an item, or on this button, that's why it was green, and then later on it was orange. So you see this here on the right, you see this changes. So, or the same, yeah, maybe we had these card inputs. Let me just find one. Yeah, you see this here with the fill. So you can see how the test behaves. So you can look at every state, how this was, as in how the page looked. That's pretty awesome. And for these specific actions, you can even look further. So let's look at this fill with the postcode, yeah? Not sure how well you see this, because I'm quite far zoomed in. Let me rearrange things, but here we want to look now at the postcode field. And there's on top here, there's a thing before and after. So this shows me how the website looked basically before the action was executed and after the action was executed. So I can see all of these things. That's fantastic. And still talking about this action section quickly, because this is also quite brilliant. So what it actually did, you know, when we were clicking here on one of these tests, so we were clicking on this end user journey, then it brought us up the source code. Yeah. And actually at every step of the way, we can look at where this happened in our source code. So if you look here at the bottom section, you see we have currently, I'm looking at locator wait for, and I can see, oh, where it is. It was in delivery details.js on line 27. And then we had another fill. So this was one line further down, line 28, same file, then line 29. So you see here how I'm stepping down. Or you see the blue line moving through the code as I move through the actions. So this highlights our code. So that way we can actually see, did some code execute, or what does this relate to? So this makes things very easy for us to debug. Another cool thing is, what I want to point out is that the pick locator is also here. So if you remember, we were always using debug statements, so that it opened the pick locator, and then we could fiddle around the web page and we could get selectors. But we can actually also get this in this UI view. So for example, now I'm looking at the delivery details page, and I can click here on pick locator, and then I can do the same thing as usual. So you see here, I see all the suggestions, like get by placeholder, or maybe here the suggestion was get by role. So I can do this also from here, now the pick locator in this UI mode. So that's wonderful. There's something else I want to now show you, which is the console and the network. For that, what I will do is I will go to the my account test. So this is the test we had done when we were mocking a network request. That will go again to the desktop viewport, yeah? Because this one has very few actions, so it's easier for me to explain this. So you see here a few symbols. You see a warning sign here, a warning sign there, and you see there even a stop sign, or like a red cross. So what are these about? So these actually show the console logs the website through during your tests. Okay, so this is not related to errors in your tests. This is related to errors and messages by the website, which the website prints. So for example, here when I was moving to the My Account page, and I go to the console log tab, then I can see what messages my app actually logged. So there was one messages about legacy implementation. Then I had created like a console log statement. So I was, when I created this website and I was saying, oh, whenever it starts, it should log this. And then I was using console warn. I was logging out these things like running use effect, token not present. This was for me personally when creating this website, just so that I can get used to it. So this shows you actually these warnings as well. This UI mode, this is great. And the red one, this relates to console errors. So again, this is an error of the website. So where the website threw a console error. This is not related to your test errors, yeah? Because this test still worked. We actually, if you remember in this my account test, we wanted an error and we were then we were expecting an error and we were checking, oh, does this error exist here? But the way I had written the website, I was doing when there is actually such an error, then I throw a console error. And this is now what I can see here. So what this view also shows here with the actions, in the bottom I can also see network requests. So that means I can see all the requests that the website makes throughout our tests. So if you remember this test case, you actually remember that we had mocked something. And we had mocked a network request so that we saw this error here, Playwright error for mocking, yeah? And this network request actually happened at this step. So if you remember, we were first going to my account, but then actually went to the login page. So we had to come back. Then we actually went to my account, and then there it would have made a network request. So if I scroll up, if I push this up, this module now, or this drawer, then I can see here all the network requests. And this is the one we were mocking. So if you remember, we were mocking a network request to API/user, and we were saying, hey, the response body should be this, Playwright error for mocking, yeah? And so we can also see this now in this section. So we can actually check what's happening, what the website is doing. So that's absolutely brilliant. Okay, and last but not least, what I want to highlight is that we can also see in the top section, we can see how the website looked at every state. So so you see here it's the test when I hover through, I can see how the test looked like. So I can inspect all the different states, and this gives me quite an easy overview of what happened. And there it is. This is the UI mode explained. So this is a wonderful new tool which helps you to run your tests interactively. So as we've seen, we have like a new UI where we can run our tests. We can run them in different viewports, and we can filter by different tests if we're interested in a certain thing. And if we're really interested in a test, we can look at what the test was doing. So we were able to look at all the actions. We saw how this relates to our source code. We could see how the website looked during our tests, and more importantly, we can understand what the website is doing. So we can understand what network requests it is making, what console logs it is doing. So all of these things, now we understand the website more through automation. So I think this UI tool is a wonderful tool in your toolbox, and I really think you should use it if you write tests and there's, for example, an error, as in maybe there's a bug, you discovered a bug in a website, and that way you can easily pinpoint where this bug is and what went wrong. So this is a wonderful tool, and I really encourage you to use it. So thank you for being with me, and maybe see you in the next bonus video, yeah? Bye, see you.